Once upon a time, there was a Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. A super duper Medicare podcast. Here he is, podcasting for the good of all mankind. It's Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. I am your Medicare expert for today, Doug Jones, and I am here to give you the confidence that you're going to want if you're going to have an encounter with Medicare. Now, the way I like to imbue people with that confidence is to encourage them to buy my book, Medicare for the Lazy Man, 2024. That's the current edition. If you go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, you're going to find that the editions that are on sale at those two places are very reasonably priced. And when you get yours, whether you have to go to the Amazon store and bring it home, or whether you have it downloaded to your ebook reader, or whatever your method of acquisition, once you decide to tear into that book, it's going to be about an hour and a half of entertainment, factual information, suggestions, and a couple of yucks here and there. I'm hoping that at least most people will find that there is a lighthearted area in most of the chapters, and you will then have enough Medicare knowledge to set you apart from all of your friends and relatives. You will be a Medicare expert, the likes of which are rarely ever seen. So if you go to Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com and purchase let's say the paperback version, and they send that to you, within a few days, you will be a bona fide Medicare expert. But that's not all. When you find my contact information within the book, then I would suggest that you contact me when it's about 3 months or less ahead of your Medicare encounter. Let's say that you're working till age 69 and then you decide you're going to retire. Well, about 3 months before that retirement date, you and I can lay the groundwork for a smooth transition from your employer health insurance plan to Medicare. Or let's say that your 65th birthday is coming up. You and I working together can lay a smooth foundation for your transition to Medicare. Let's suppose that you're already on Medicare and you have a very expensive Medicare Supplement plan. Well, in many cases, in many states, in many places, there is a way that I can help you get an equivalently wonderful Medicare Supplement plan that has all of the benefits and very few of the drawbacks. In other words, I can get a cheaper answer for you. There are many Medicare alternatives that are not very expensive. And so I would propose that if you've got a very expensive Medicare supplement, that we consider switching you to an inexpensive Medicare supplement. So let's say if you save $1,000 a year, but you have to write a couple of checks, that seems like a pretty good trade-off, doesn't it? So go to Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com, purchase Medicare for the Lazy Man 2024, read it, and then let me know what you think. You'll find my contact information right inside that book. And Randy Carson is sitting by to turn the knobs and push the buttons in order to make this podcast episode stand out amongst the many that we have done. Hello, Randy. It's always a pleasure to see you again.
I always like to think I'm outstanding in my field.
You are, and you should go inside now. It's probably lunchtime where you are.
I hoped you were going to catch that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, you and I often discuss our childhoods, and you grew up on a ranch, and I grew up in cicada country. I grew up in an area that has massive oak and walnut trees, and it's perfect cicada. And before you ask, no cicadas this year, even though it's predicted to be the heaviest.
What is going on?
It's supposed to be the heaviest concentration of cicadas in over 200 years.
Well, somebody's lying. I'm telling you, somebody's lying.
Or perhaps the science is inaccurate. My first little blurb today is going to be about science having led us down the primrose path. And it's very refreshing to see that common sense won out over the science.
Well, I've got one little observation about cicadas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to tell you this, Doug, but there's people that don't feel the same way about cicadas as you.
I know. One of them is my spousal unit. She loves cicadas. She can't wait for those little bastards to show up.
Well, there's other people that love them even more, as in I saw on YouTube last night. As you know, I refer to YouTube as one of my huge reference sources.
Sure, sure.
People are capturing them and doing deep fat fried cicadas.
All right, that's where you're going to lose me. I'll tell you right now, I was traumatized, as you know, when my parents gave me a pup tent when I was a kid. Didn't have a floor, just the tent part, no floor. And I went to my pup tent one day expecting to read comic books or something, and it was full of dead cicada skins. It was horrifying, absolutely horrifying, and I've never gotten over it.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. They actually were. I was going to say, well, they weren't crawling up through the ground, but in actuality, they were. I looked out in my front yard, and it was Medicare Advantage zombies crawling up through the ground.
Yeah, that's going to happen occasionally. If you're not on guard, you're going to find yourself infested with the little bastards. I will say that I did some research on these cicadas, knowing that I'd have to maybe dig a hole and cover it up in order to be safe from them. They have of about 8 feet that they can burrow into the earth. 8 feet. Now there's no way I'm digging an 8-foot hole to hide from a bunch of bugs. So I gave up that idea right away.
Well, or here's another option for you, Doug.
Okay.
Since you've got all the heavy equipment around your house, you could dig a moat.
But they come from the trees. They come out of the ground. They go up to the tree. They shed their skins. They go up to the tree. They find a lady or a gentleman cicada that meets their fancy, and they engage in some cicada fun, and then they lay eggs that drop to the ground. And I don't think a moat is going to protect me from this kind of behavior.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Moat's not going to help. I will give that some further consideration, because that particular design that I just dreamt up, not going to help you. So I'll let you know.
I'm thinking of a small nuclear device.
Well, we could do that. We could do that. Or the other thing is they have to have at least 55 degrees ground temperature before they're any good, and they can't pop anywhere.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. Run refrigerated pipes through your yard and keep it down below freezing at all times.
Oh boy, you're making it less and less appealing to hide from the cicadas or to ward them off. But I'll give it some thought.
Yeah,
let's do some noodling on that.
I'll keep noodling on it.
Well, I appreciate that. Meanwhile, I ran across an article that sums up my adulation at what has happened in Congress recently. They decided to hold somebody's feet to the fire, and I would say it's long overdue. And I'm talking about Anthony Fauci, the theoretical doctor who theoretically was promoting the science that all of our survival hinged upon when COVID was around. And this guy promoted laws and restrictions that made no sense at all. Randy and I knew that. We knew it was completely stupid. We knew that the aerosol germs of the coughing and hacking from people that had COVID would go right through masks. We also knew that it made no sense to do any social distancing and many other stupid rules. And it turns out Fauci finally admitted it while being interrogated by Congress. And I couldn't be more proud of our congressman. I'm very embarrassed about him in many other respects, but this was a stellar day. And the short version is Dr. Anthony Fauci, and I hate to say the word doctor with this idiot, who headed the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases during the height of the panic, told Congress that the CDC's social distancing rule was an empiric decision that was not based on data. He reviewed no scientific evidence behind the specific recommendations for masking children or adults for that matter, or maintaining a 6-foot social distancing before advocating these policies during the height of COVID. I swear to God, every store I go into now still has residue of their little dots on the floor where you're supposed to stand to maintain your social distancing from the other people in the store. I can't believe how many idiots fell prey to this stupidity, and how many times I had to argue with people in stores or in line at other places to get them to see the light of this stupidity. The revelations came from the full transcript of Fauci's closed-door transcribed interview session that took place in January. It sort of just appeared that 6 feet was going to be the distance, Fauci testified. It just it was like picking it off a tree, just a random, let's say 6 feet. That sounds good. Somebody named Francis S. Collins, who was the former director of the National Institutes of Health, also privately testified to Congress in January that he was not aware of evidence behind social distancing recommendation, according to a transcript released in May. Those people have caused so much strife, so much angst, so much overreaction, and they've engendered fear. All the masking of small children on airplanes, or the masking of adults on airplanes. So much stupidity that never had to happen. But a bunch of sheeple decided to enforce some stupid rules that had no basis in fact. It's incredible to me that our country allowed itself to be hoodwinked by guys like Fauci, and I wish he were doing hard time in a jail deep in Fort Leavenworth. That would be my wish for...
Much deeper than 6 feet.
Oh, God, yes. Much deeper than even 8 feet where the cicadas can go.
I know. So that's bottom line, I mean, the social distancing damn near killed. There were some industries, restaurant industry for one.
Oh, yeah.
It damn near killed it.
Movie theaters. I got into a fight outside. This is outside in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona, at the iPhone store when I was told that I couldn't, I had to stand 6 feet away from my wife.
Well, okay. No, that's got nothing to do with COVID.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know what it was, but I was joined by a guy who said, "Let's beat him up, shall we?" I mean, he was of a like mind, and I said, "That's probably a little too."
You having to stand 6 feet away from Mary had nothing to do with COVID. You were doing politically incorrect things in the store.
That very well might have been, but this was outside before we were even allowed inside the store.
I thought maybe you were playing suck face.
No, we don't do that. We were probably exchanging fisticuffs, perhaps. No, we weren't doing that. But the point is that those morons hired armed guards to enforce their social distancing and their masking requirements. It was incredibly stupid. In order to get a cell phone, I had to put up with that horse manure.
Now, you told me during that period, some of your more, shall I say, sheeple-like neighbors.
There were a bunch of them.
Were driving around your neighborhood in a convertible with a mask.
Yes, actually, her neighbor was driving around by herself, not in a, but she had her mask on every time she got in her. I don't know who she thought was in her car at other times, but she wore that mask religiously. It was incredible. And she was just one of many. That stupid neighborhood thing, occasionally they send me an email saying there's an important announcement on the neighborhood.com or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Alice Kravitz reported that teenagers were walking by her house without wearing masks, and she wanted to know what she could do about it.
Christmas. Wow, that's dangerous.
Well,
I wouldn't worry about teenagers walking by your house. I'd worry about teenagers doing a lot of other things, but not that. If
she went out and irritated the teenagers, I'm pretty sure those other things would start happening to her.
That's right. You got it.
But in any event, I could spend the rest of the episode explaining my thoughts about how we allowed ourselves to be bullied and penalized by assholes like that Fauci dude. It reminds me of back in 1973 when the federal government told automakers they had to install an ignition interlock so that if you got into a car and you weren't wearing your seatbelt. If your seatbelt wasn't buckled, the car wouldn't start. There was a national uproar and they backed down. That showed spine. That showed dedication to freedom. And that showed the government who was boss. Move forward to 2020, and you see no evidence of spine. You see no evidence of a dedication of freedom. Everybody almost knuckled under to those bastards. In fact, there was a guy in Cave Creek who tried to not knuckle under. He had a T-shirt shop, and he had a sign outside the T-shirt shop, and Randy's nodding his head. Oh, yes, I remember this because he lives in Cave Creek. And this T-shirt shop owner had a sign outside that said "No masks allowed." And
you walk in here with a mask, I'll kick your buns out.
Exactly, and that's what he was going to do. So some troublemaker decided to wear a mask, went in there, picked a fight with him, and the store owner had to pull his piece in order to get the guy to back off. And the cops came and dragged the troublemaker out, not the store owner, but the guy who tried to start the fight.
So where did they shove his mask?
Well, I'd like to think where the sun don't shine, but I have no proof of that.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. I have went in that T-shirt shop several times looking for a particular T-shirt, or maybe I was going to get one custom made. I don't know, but it was back in the days when I was doing, I think I need a T-shirt that says this, but unfortunately, not unfortunately, I've been able to find T-shirts to explain my mode of life and my beliefs around life on, Amazon.
Well, that's nice. The problem is that to get an explanation of my thoughts on life, that it's like a script. It's like the Bible written on the head of a pen. Put more stuff in there. So nobody wants to stand next to me long enough to actually read what I've had put on the T-shirt.
That's true. I've got hats, I've got it all. So I've got all my friends and neighbors trained that if there's anything they desire me to advertise on the street,
yep,
as related to conservatism versus not, I'm your guy.
Well, once again, conservatism wins out. At least we were right. If we didn't explain our position well enough, we didn't make our position known. At least we know now in retrospect that we were right. What I should do is tell the people that they can go to the bathroom, go get a beverage or something like that. We're going to play some commercials right now. And then when you come back, we'll resume. All righty? And I'm not going to quiz you on what the commercials contained. So see you soon. All right. I'm back and ready to go back to Medicare content. I didn't have the content curator do anything for me today. So this is the best you're going to get is what I have managed to cobble together. Today, it was announced that Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City is leaving the Medicare Advantage market at the end of this year. The company blamed heightened regulatory demands and rising market and financial pressures. Blue KC is how they bill themselves. They said that the insurer cannot economically compete because of the plan's small Medicare Advantage membership. It was about 30,000 people. In March, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, that's the U.S. government, announced that it would follow through with a small decrease in the benchmark payments. It's like 1.6% they would withhold. And the agency maintained average payments to insurers will increase 3.7% by 2025, but it wasn't enough for Kansas City. Blue Kansas City membership represented about 30,000 individuals. So I believe there is much turmoil coming in the Medicare Advantage marketplace, as well as the Part D prescription drug plan marketplace. Here's another example of some turmoil coming up. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. It is a huge Blue Cross Blue Shield company. It owns Blue Cross Blue Shield in a total of 5 states: Illinois, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, and Montana. They have just announced that they've got 3 Medicare Advantage plans that are not going to be, they're not going to have commissions paid anymore. Now, if you're going to not pay a commission on a product, you can bet that the agents are not going to be paying or not going to be selling that product anymore. The annual commission for a new person buying a Medicare Advantage plan for the first time is about $600 this year. And when they announce in the middle of the year they're going to stop paying commissions on a particular product, that tells me that there's some turmoil going on in the actuarial offices at that company. So it says these three plans are Medicare Advantage PPO plans. Any new policies, they mean new applications. So here they are making mistakes even in their own announcement. Any new policies received on or after June 1st of 2024 will not be eligible for compensation. So I think that's interesting. I don't know what it means, but Randy has a thought on that. Randy, share your thoughts with us.
Would it be possible, Doug? I know you're the expert, but would it be possible, an old basically an old cowboy from Nebraska, that the windfall profits are over?
It looks like it could be heading in that direction. I think it's a little too early to tell for sure, but it sounds to me as though they're concerned about not being able to make the same kind of profits they were making in the past. Let's watch and see over the next few months, because when the big announcements are made in October, that's when we're going to see likely to be happening next year. That will tell the tale.
Well, on the other hand,
until October,
maybe they're. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, until October, we're likely just to hear hints, bits, and pieces of knowledge. But when they make their announcement for the product constructions available to buyers starting January 1st, then we'll know what they have in mind.
I thought maybe their moms got a hold of them and said they should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, you would think so. Unfortunately, their mom is the federal government. And when they get a hold of you, then there's trouble a brewing. So here we are on a totally different subject. This article says 8 things that you must know about Medicare's income-related monthly adjustment amount. That's IRMAA. And the reason I threw this into the stack was that the other day I read a lot of correspondence from happy clients. One piece of correspondence I didn't get to because it was very long, and the correspondence has taken place over the last couple of months, so there are many back and forths. But I have a very happy client who beat the system. They were going to come after him big time for the IRMAA penalty, the success penalty, and they're going to charge him something like almost $400 a month, as I recall. I'll get to that correspondence in a future episode. But here is an article about 8 things you must know about IRMAA. Means testing. It says means testing is a hot topic when it comes to government benefits, but it's not just an academic debate, as high-income Medicare beneficiaries already pay higher premiums. And in reality, requiring wealthier people to pay more can get a bit messy when income spikes for, say, just 1 year. So the first of these 8 facts to know about IRMAA. Who has to pay extra? IRMAA is triggered when modified adjusted gross income, that is, your adjusted gross income plus tax-exempt interest income, exceeds $206,000. And that's if you're a single, that's $103,000. If your modified adjusted gross income exceeds $103,000 for a single, then you're going to hit IRMAA, and they're going to calculate the amount of monthly income you have to throw in addition to your $175 monthly Part B Medicare premium. The next question: how long has IRMAA been around? The surcharge was included as part of an act that was passed in 2003, which is better known for creating Part D drug plan coverage, and effect in 2007. The Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, imposed the high income surcharge on the drug plans, and that kicked in around 2011. So 2007 was the first time we ever heard of a penalty, a success penalty for Medicare participants. The Part B, as in boy, surcharge is an add-on to the standard premium set by the government. Now, for this year, that's $174.70. I just call it $175. The total amount is paid to the government. For the Part D, the drug plan IRMAA, you pay the drug plan premium to the insurance company that sells you the drug plan, and then you pay the extra to the government. Question 3, are the income thresholds adjusted for inflation? Yes, they are. Question 4, what year's income is used? The answer is the surcharge is based on income from your tax return 2 years ago. The most recent IRS data that the government has when premiums are set in late fall. To determine 2024 premiums, for instance, income reported on your 2022 return, which was filed early in 2023, was used. If your income exceeds the thresholds in 2023, you'll probably owe the surcharges for 2025, and so on. Question 5, what if my income has gone down? That's the reason for the word probably in the previous answer. If you got hit with a surcharge this year, but your income has fallen since 2022, you may qualify for a waiver. If you experienced a qualifying life-changing event, you can easily get the surcharge waived, but you have to ask. Those events include retirement, divorce, or the death of a spouse. It's a finite list of things that will qualify. Read the full list in Social Security's publication, Medicare Premiums, Rules for Higher Income Beneficiaries. That's a publication that you can search for online. Medicare Premiums, and then there's a Rules for Higher Income Beneficiaries. Question 6, how do I get the waiver? You have to ask for it. You'll need to provide documentation of the qualifying event and an estimate of your lower income for the year, which the government will use to recalculate your premiums. If you are applying because you retired, for instance, include a letter from your former employer certifying the date of your retirement. You can also provide an estimate of lower income for the following year. And let's see, number 7, does a one-time windfall count as a life-changing event? The answer is, unfortunately, no. If you received a windfall that will spike your income for the year, such as you're selling an investment for a large profit, immediately consider ways to lower your adjusted gross income, such as harvesting capital losses, or if you're still working, boosting retirement account contributions. Consider pushing Roth conversions, which are taxable events, to a lower income year. If you can rein in your adjusted gross income below the threshold before December 31st, you'll stave off the surcharge based on that year's income. Number 8, in our final question, how long do the surcharges last? There's a silver lining to the surcharges. They are applied on an annual basis. You might have it one year and not the next. Unlike late enrollment penalties that can last a lifetime, the surcharge can be temporary. As soon as your income falls below the thresholds, the surcharge will drop off. So let's say you owed the surcharge in 2024 as a result of a temporarily high income in 2022, but your income fell back below the thresholds in 2023. The good news there is your surcharge will go away in 2025. Wow. Well, we goofed around a lot today. I'm not sure we hit that much Medicare Medicare content, but I did like the idea of those IRMAAs, those success penalties going away after even 1 year of a high income. They don't stick around forever. So I think that's probably the high note that we hope to end on every time. So Randy, why don't we just pack it up and get on out of here?
I will. We've got actually, just so you know, our 75-cent clock runs out in 4 seconds. So you've timed it perfectly.
Wow, that doesn't happen too often.
So anyway, couple 3 things I always need to take care of before we land the plane or bring the bus into the station. Grab a pen. If you want to reach out to Doug, ask a question, make a comment, whatever you want to do, you can reach him at dbj@mlmmailbag.com. Don't forget, Doug is licensed nationwide to help you with your Medicare Supplement planning. Check us out at the website, medicareforthelazyman.com. We would appreciate a review in your wanderings through the internet. We love them, and they make a lot of difference to us in terms of the ranking of our podcast, and we want to stay number 1. Last but certainly not least, thank you. Thank you for joining us. You could have been a number of different places doing 100 different things, and you chose to spend some time with us listening to Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. And if you didn't keep track of it on your watch, you have just spent about 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the anti-insurance guy, originally from Oklahoma. No more. He's camped out in the low grounds of Illinois, watching for the cicadas, but he doesn't see them. So I don't know whether he's ever going to see them or not, but we'll keep you posted. Back to you, Doug.
Let's hope not, Randy. And I'm hoping that we will see all of you at our next episode. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.